this on a non-stop flight.
Matt, we are about to talk about a song that I think in a lot of ways could be looked at as one of the more divisive out tracks. I feel like people either adore this song or you hear them not talk about it at all.
I had no idea that this was in any way divisive, but I looked it up and it is.
Yeah.
And I think honestly the reason why is just because maybe more than anything we have talked about so far, this is not that funny.
No,
there's almost no jokes in Airline Amy. It's I think, okay, so right off the bat, I think the easiest comparison to make for this song is Melanie.
Yeah. And Melanie's just a better song for
Melanie is funnier. So well, it's interesting, right? Okay, so Melanie is funnier while also being more
dark and
alarming.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in this song that indicates in Melanie, that woman is in trouble.
Yes.
This is a problem. She is this guy, the character that Al is playing in Melanie, is shaving her cat and following her around, and it is a serious situation. There's nothing in the lyrics of Airline Amy that indicates that this guy is doing anything other than flying a lot to see this person who he has become infatuated with.
Which, I mean, and now we're going to, for a quick second of being logical,
Yes.
or completely buying into too much logic here, he has to buy so many plane tickets on the offshot chance that she's even working that particular flight.
It must be expensive. It must be quite a game. I'm reminded of, in Lost, spoilers for Lost, everybody. But in Lost, when Jack and a few of them get off of the island, and then he keeps flying back and forth. He keeps booking flights on the same route that he crashed the first time because he wants to crash again because he's so nervous. He's so upset for the people that they left behind.
Yeah.
And that's what I think of on this song, of this guy just booking flight after flight and hoping that when he gets on the plane, Amy's going to be there. It's a tragic story.
Because, let me ask you a question. You and I are both people who have flown a lot in our lives.
Yes.
And I fly the same airline. I'm pretty much exclusively an American Airlines person because I have one of those AA cards, so
Sure.
I get better ticket costs. I don't think I've ever once seen the same stewardess in all of my life.
Well, I guess
But also,
I haven't
I don't
either.
think-
I've certainly
I don't
never
think
clocked
about it.
I would
Yeah,
say
that's what I mean.
I've never gotten on a plane and be like, oh, it's you again. That has never happened. But maybe I'm not, I'm not the romantic
That's true.
that this man is.
I think I want to stick with the Melanie comparison for just a little bit longer because there's no way to say this that doesn't sound mean, but I think this is just a way more boring song than Melanie. Like Melanie, from even a songwriting stance, has these interesting harmonies and melodies, and I think that this is gonna. There's no way to say this doesn't sound awful, but Airline Amy, by itself, I would say this song and next week's song drags all of Off the Deep End lower on my radar, because I was as we were doing these episodes, I was thinking oh man, Off the Deep End is also really solid. Why do I not think of this as one of Al's absolute best? And then it was we hit this song and I was reminded if this was a 10-track album that just went from Taco Grande to the ending track, I would be putting this right up there with A Dare to Be Stupid and an even worse when we get to the end. And I just think that it's not Al's worst original. I mean, who knows? We haven't gotten to the ranking yet. Maybe I will decide that it is. It's not Al's worst original, but it's almost worse than being the worst original because it's so forgettable. We trash I Want a New Duck a lot, but boy, do I think about that song a lot. Does it pop into my head? I re-listened to this song less than an hour ago, and I genuinely could not tell you the chorus to this song. It just evaporates from my brain every time I listen to it.
This is great. This is maybe going to be the most we have ever disagreed on a song.
Yes.
Which is awesome because I absolutely love this song. I think it's awesome. I think it is, in terms of how well written it is, I think it is absolutely right there next to Melanie. I really do. And it's possible, so again, it's really interesting to me that this is, because I didn't know that this was, if you go into the Ask Al forums, well, sorry, there's Ask Al, which is like a Q&A thing he did for years, and then there's the Weird Al forums on his website. Those things are all still up and active, and there is a thread on the forums for every single song for people to discuss them. And the thread for this song is so long, with people saying exactly what we're talking about right now, of people being like, this is one of my favorite Al originals ever, and other people are being like, this is the most forgettable thing he has ever done. What are you talking about? And it is really interesting to me because I do feel like it's hitting a similar, at least for me, it's hitting a similar songwriting mark to Melanie in terms of, I'm going to back up a little bit. This is credited as I think what this is a style parody. This is a loose, very, very, very loose style parody. But he has said on the Ask Al forums, which I just mentioned, that it is inspired by a couple of songs that he heard by Nick Lowe and Jonathan Richman. Okay. Now, there's a specific song by Nick Lowe that is called Switchboard Susan.
Okay.
Now, this is an interesting one because musically, this song and Switchboard Susan have almost nothing in common. They are not similar.
Theme-wise.
But theme-wise, it's the same lyrical conceit. The idea of this is literally like an old school, boy, talk about an old school premise. This guy calling the operator line over and over again in the hopes that he gets Susan to connect his call to the person he's trying to reach. So lyrically, the infatuation and the trying to find this person who's just doing their job. And the idea that this person who is doing their job is flirting with you. Mm-hmm. That's where the connective tissue is. So super interesting. It's like a lyrical style parody, but not a musical style parody. I don't think I have seen anything like this from Al thus far. And when I first saw Switchboard Susan, I was like, I mean, maybe someone's reaching again because of the naming structure. But now the more that I looked at the lyrics, I would recommend people listen. Side note, Nick Lowe is amazing.
Awesome.
He is such a great guy. He wrote
Cruel to Be Kind.
Yeah, Cruel to Be Kind was a big hit of his. He also wrote the song What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding that Elvis Costello made into a hit. Nick Lowe is brilliant. And another interesting one is Jonathan Richman. Are you familiar with Jonathan Richman?
Jonathan Richman is one of those people whose names I've heard just because I'm always on I'm always looking for like music that I haven't heard that will blow me away. And you can't go on most music and especially 70s, 80s singer-songwriter places and not hear just nonstop praise for Jonathan Richman, but I've yet to really dive into any of his stuff. But that is a name I know quite well.
So probably for sure the most notable thing, Jonathan Richman started out in a band called the Modern Lovers that go way, way, way back to I think the Modern Lovers were formed in 1970 and now get considered as this kind of proto power pop, like a garage rock meets power pop band. The Modern Lovers have a song called Roadrunner that is without a doubt the most notable song you're going to hear. It was featured in the movie School of Rock. Okay. So if you've seen that movie, you know Roadrunner, at least a little bit. But after Modern Lovers really only put out there's one record credited to Modern Lovers, and then it was Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers. And then after that, Jonathan Richman has put out solo records for decades.
Yeah.
And he is a really interesting dude because I would recommend for people who listen to this show, who love Al, presumably, to check out his music because he is he's a songwriter for sure. And he doesn't do comedy songs really. That's not, no one would ever call him a comedy songwriter.
It's not like a Tony OK situation where you can hear the weird elements that Al pulls from
correct.
that. Yeah.
But if you listen to Jonathan Richman, you will absolutely hear why Al would love him.
Yeah.
He is a great, super catchy songwriter, but his songs are weird. They're oddly structured. They feel kind of like, even the most polished records he has made are kind of herky-jerky, almost demo-like. They're not perfect. There's a really great song of his that's called I Was Dancing in the Lesbian Bar. That is literally, it's about exactly what it sounds like, that he has found himself in this place and he's still enjoying himself, but is acknowledging where he is. Just weird premises for songs, but still very hooky and very fun. It's maybe an acquired taste for people, but it's worth shouting out here, the fact that Al even references Jonathan Richman. And hey, maybe if you're listening to this and you're like, I agree with Matt Kelly, Airline Amy is a boring song, maybe don't check out Jonathan Richman, because that's the closest comparison. That, Nick Lowe, and also just like power pop.
Yeah.
Which is a genre that I absolutely love.
I do too. I feel like I should love this song, and I don't. This is a notable song, though, Matt. I feel like this needs to be... Let me see if you draw the same conclusion that I draw with this.
Okay.
So June 6th, 1990 was when recording of Off the Deep End officially began.
Mm-hmm.
The first song recorded in that session was Airline Amy.
Yes.
And these recording sessions were the first time Yankovic self-produced his songs.
Okay, that's right. That's true.
So we can conclude that this is the first Al Yankovic produced song.
I guess that's true, right? I mean, at least in his proper career, I mean, this is where you get into that funny territory. Arguably, Al self-produced his original My Bologna in the Toilet recording.
Yes.
before he had done well enough to get producers involved like Rick Derringer. But yes, no, you're right. So if this is the first song recorded on Off the Deep End, which it seems to have been, then yes, this is the first time that Al and this band have gone into the studio together and made a record where Al is the one calling the shots completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That is interesting. That is a unique quality of this track. It's funny. It's hard to even know what to say, because I want to pick your brain about this a little bit more, but it's so wild to me that you like that the chorus is like lost on you and forgettable, because I think about, first of all, I have to give a shout out right away. I think this song has some of the best Steve J bass playing of any song in Al's entire catalog. I would strongly encourage people to listen. The chorus of the song has this like descending bass line. The do 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 doom 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 doom. It's endlessly moving. It never stops, like flying around the neck. Coming out of there's like, I guess, a bridge, verse 3, where Al goes like, Airline Amy, this is my new mission. Do 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 do. Like this, like everything about it is so tasty and just delicious to me. Like Jim West is doing guitar lick after guitar lick. Every phrase has this like little guitar riff solo in it. This to me sounds like Al and his band having the most fun. That's what I hear when I hear this song. It just sounds like catchy moment after catchy moment. And yeah, and I don't even know what to say, because I just enjoy it so much. And I'm trying to, I wish I could figure out where we're disconnecting here and what the,
I think it's literally just what it's so, I don't understand it either. We almost had a guest on this episode. Yeah. And I chose not to have a guest on this episode because MC Lars has been on the show like 4 times, the last 4 times we've had guests.
MC Lars is attempting a hostile takeover of our show. We're not going to let it happen, guys.
But I was like, okay, Lars loves this song. I had a feeling you would also love this song.
Yeah.
I've seen people love this song. So even today I sat down and I was like, all right, clearly we missed something way back when. Clearly we haven't been giving this song enough attention. And I hit play, and I was like, "It's fine." It was such
no, it's not fine. It's excellent. It's so good. It's so good. Someone else. There's a couple questions about this on Ask Al that I want to talk about. Someone pointed out, and I love this as an observation. Did you choose the name Amy and Airline Amy because your initials are AMY? Alfred Matthew Yankovic.
What did
And
he say to that?
Al responded, actually, I was going more for the alliteration. I suppose it could have been Airline Annie. But you're right. I guess on some level, I was influenced by my own initials.
Hi, listeners. I'm Carolina.
And I'm Tessa. And together we are Femme Regard Podcast.
Femme.
We are a show dedicated to educating and entertaining underdeveloped filmmakers and film enthusiasts alike.
We love sharing our experiences as filmmakers, what we've learned and what we've gone through.
And we love bringing on professional industry guests.
We want our listeners to learn from the best and get an honest account of the biz.
So come join the Femme Fam and give us a listen every Friday.
Streaming on all the major podcast platforms, including YouTube and our website, femregard.com. And of course, the Geekscape Network.
As I already mentioned, someone asked what/who inspired Airline Amy, and he said, I was not thinking about any particular woman. Airline Amy was inspired by a couple of songs I heard by Nick Lowe and Jonathan Richman. And then just a goofy... Oh, no, and there's another one here. Someone said, Airline Amy is your only love song that doesn't end in suicide, death, or general misery for all involved. Is this because it was inspired by a real-life person, or were you just in a good mood that day? To which Al responds, I didn't have anybody in mind when I wrote the song, and I'm pretty much always in a good mood.
I love him so much.
And I know, right? And for what it's worth, I've always thought You Make Me was a pretty straightforward love song, which we did talk about when we did You Make Me. And then one other just random funny one, someone asked, are there any secret tracks on any of your albums? And Al responded, yes, on Off the Deep End, there's a secret track called Airline Amy. Shh, don't tell anybody. So... yeah, a good few questions about it. A lot of people wondering if it's based on a real person. I do think it's interesting that people assume because it's not so dark that maybe it's real.
That it must be real, yeah.
That it must be real. But I don't know. I think that there is, despite the fact that it's not as direct and it's not as on the nose.
It's still creepy.
It's creepy and it's sad, right? Like this is about like someone who's just delusional and someone who does not have a grip on reality at all. And the fact that they think this person who is doing the most basic job, like all they are doing is handing out coffee. Let's go over the lyrics for a few minutes here. Met this pretty young stewardess on a nonstop flight. She showed me to my seat and it was love at first sight. Now lately I've been flying to all kinds of places that I never really wanted to go because I'll do anything just to spend a little time with the cutest flight attendant I know. So as you pointed out, Matt, you're right. We presumably there's no way he's exclusively taking flights with just this person. He must just be trying to...
just trying out of desperation, yeah.
Trying to get her. Go ahead.
He does... I don't know where you stand on this. I do not have a problem with this nearly as much as I think a lot of other people do. He does a thing in the bridge where he rhymes nuts with nuts.
He drives nuts with peanuts.
Yeah, no, that's nuts with nuts. Let's be honest.
Well, okay. Yeah. I mean, technically, okay, she's driving him nuts and he's getting peanuts. That's sort of like, Black Sabbath, the homonym rhyme.
Yeah.
Black Sabbath, generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses.
Yes, exactly.
Technically, it's two different words.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you wrote a song where you rhymed there with there, and they were just the definition, different words there, you still rhymed there with there.
That's fair.
I have never been bothered by that. I know that there are some people who will throw their hands in the air and be like, "What a lazy songwriter."
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, well, so interesting.
I like it because I think it plays on the idea that there are two different meanings for the word nuts.
Yeah.
And even in this sense, when he says like she's driving me nuts, like to him, it's that infatuated, so in love with somebody where you're just like, I am just nuts for you.
Yeah.
But like to every person listening, it's like, no, you're psychotic now.
Exactly.
She's driven you psychotic nuts.
Yeah. No, exactly. I also want to point out, because we've been talking about it a good bit recently, and I think it's a really interesting thing we keep addressing, which is that this is one of those songs that has a repeat chorus.
Yes.
It does not change, which makes me think, once again, the primary goal of this song is not comedy. We've said before how you change the chorus in a comedy song, and every time you come back around, you change it so that you can get a new joke in.
Well,
and Al does not do that on this song.
I would say yes and no, because I think I think that this song is exactly what you're talking about. That this is not a song specifically written for comedy for those exact reasons.
Yeah.
I think in some of the other examples, Good Old Days and Melanie are two that jump to my mind immediately. Keeping the chorus the same, almost in a weird way. He doesn't need to write new jokes because the chorus is naturally being heightened by the growing absurdism of the lyrics leading up
which
to
Melanie
it.
had too.
Yeah, but this I don't think has that as much. Like this is, by all intents and purposes, very straightforward. The first verse is the thesis, and then the rest is just a song based off that thesis.
I think,
There's
as
no
we have said
heightening.
before, this is, if we were going to make a compilation, side note, this is a fun idea.
All right.
Make a compilation of the best of Normal Al.
Yeah, Normal Al.
This is absolutely a Normal Al track. Like
100%.
This is for sure. Like if you, and again, it's funny because you're saying it in a forgettable way. I'm saying it in a remarkable way. For me, if you're trying to show someone a Weird Al, if you like someone who's like, oh, I heard you do a podcast about Weird Al. That's that goofy song guy who I know like 3 things from over the last 30 years. Why do you like him so much? For me, this would be a strong contender for something to show someone as just a piece of his writing and his ability to write an original song. That's not what you expect.
I'm looking at his originals, and I'm thinking that besides this song, there's maybe 2.5 songs that we've covered thus far that would fall into that Normal Al category. Do you get about the same count on your end?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, because Melanie is close, but even Melanie is more like, even Melanie, he's
Dark. Yeah.
it's dark, and he's, you know, shaving animals, and there are lines in there that are like on the edge of like, he's tipping his hand a little bit.
I was thinking that one. I was thinking UHF is kind of devoid of jokes.
I would agree.
And Midnight Star. I think that we didn't really talk about it too much in Midnight Star, but like at its core, Midnight Star is literally just a song about a magazine that any band could have written a song about their favorite magazine. That's
Correct.
not so out of the realm
Yeah.
of absurdism like a lot of the other ones. But I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I missed. I feel
Again,
like those are the 3
somewhat
big ones.
silly, somewhat like oddball premise for a song, but not inherently just like a comedy track. It doesn't have jokes in it in the same way. It's true.
Yeah, those are the only 3 that I could think of besides this one. So yeah, this would be I guess the 3rd or 4th, depending on how you look at Melanie, Normal Al track. And with that in mind, 3 of those ranked high for both of us. Now we must see where we rank.
Well, real
Normal
quick,
Al.
I want to go through just a few more of the lyrics, if that's okay.
Okay,
Matt.
that is
That's
totally
okay.
fine.
Okay, cool. So the again, we said the chorus is the same every time. You set my ever-loving heart on fire. Airline Amy, tell me I'm your favorite frequent flyer. Airline Amy, found a little piece of heaven on a 747. No one else can take me higher than Airline Amy. That just repeats every time. But again, the idea of this sad person who thinks that this is special behavior. Every one of our dates is at 30,000 feet. She always points out the exits to me. She's so sweet. You know, she gets me my headphones for free and refills my coffee cup whenever I ask. And you got to admit, my baby looks pretty hot when she's wearing that oxygen mask.
Oxygen mask. Probably the funniest line in the whole song is that line.
It probably is. Also, just interesting to hear. Like, I think this might be the only time in any Al song where Al refers to somebody as hot.
There's also
you got
line. One? Well, no. I was going to say there's also a line we always talk about where Al just grazes the concept of sex.
Yes.
Anywhere.
Okay, here we go. Yeah.
Anywhere in a song, and we get that in the next verse.
Yes.
It's probably the most explicit thing that he's written in an original outside of the have to use the self-service pumps joke in 1 more minute.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, back to the Amy Darlin', don't you know, this is the bridge. Amy Darlin', don't you know you really drive me nuts? Mm-hmm. Every time you're handing out those honey roasted peanuts. Airline Amy, this is my new mission. Killer bass riff. Gonna get you in an upright, locked position. Now, that's great. I love that line so much. And the reason why is because that is obviously loaded with innuendo. But what does that mean? That's not a thing. Like, I don't know what I don't know what that not to be too vulgar here, I don't know what that position would look like, I guess. That doesn't seem like an appealing
Nope, doesn't
position.
seem great at all.
You know what? The other thing about this, everything about it feels like, and maybe this is something I also find very charming about it, it feels like a crush from like a child almost. Like
Yes.
it's very
Oh,
childlike. You know what I mean? Like again, how Melanie was dark and loaded and this is just someone who's being like, it would be the same thing as being obsessed with like a waitress at a restaurant because they kept coming and refilling your water and getting you like new Cokes. And you'd be like, oh my God, she like, look how much she likes me. She keeps coming back over here. Like, it's just very childlike. Yeah, I don't mind the fact that it's not laugh out loud funny. I'm going to say, I think this is a perfectly constructed song, in my opinion.
Right? Well,
Absolutely perfect.
Let's see you put your money where your mouth is. Where are you putting it on the original songs list?
Oh boy, Matt, I cannot wait to see how different we are on this song. I am putting this at number 3.
Wow, above Melanie.
Just above Melanie. If to run down my top 5 right now: UHF, Dare to Be Stupid, Airline Amy, Melanie, and Nature Trail to Hell.
Wow. Okay.
I absolutely love this song. And boy, am I excited. Okay, no, actually, before I say anything else, Matt, you go ahead. You rank.
So, at one point, I thought this might go to the bottom.
I love it.
Now, I'm not putting it at the bottom. The reason that I was thinking about putting it at the bottom was that I was comparing it to what's currently at my bottom, which is Gotta Boogie. And
Another
I was
great
like,
song, Matt.
Another great song. A song that I look at and I go, man, maybe I did put that too low. And that's the only thing that's stopping this from sitting at the bottom, is that I do think that this is a worse song than Gotta Boogie in my mind. But then there's like a bunch of songs above Gotta Boogie that I'm like, these are equally forgettable in my mind. So I'm bringing it kind of in the low end of the middle, just below I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead and Let Me Be Your Hog.
I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead. Another funny one that I have a lot higher than you.
Way higher
than you. So that actually speaks volumes. That's a great reference point.
And I think that when we do our next mailbag and we're allowed to move one song, I think it's time that I kind of relocate Gotta Boogie a couple slots.
I am so excited. I hope that people who are listening to this will go to our social media and chime in on their thoughts on this song, because I love how truly this might be the most different opinion of anything we've had, at least in months.
Yeah.
And now that our list is larger, when we disagree on something, the space between them is way bigger than it used to be.
Dramatic, yeah.
But I want to give a quick moment here to shout out, because I thought some version of this might happen in this episode. And as we already talked about Nick Lowe and we talked about Jonathan Richman, I really think that Al musically has a lot of big new wave influence in what he does. And just a quick, because I think a lot of these acts, I made a list of things that I think are very similar to this song and bands that I really know and love that I want to shout out. Okay? This is very much my record store guy period coming out right now.
Because
here
this
we
is
go.
kind of the end of New Wave Al.
This kind of is actually for at least a very long time. I don't know what else I can think of that it's going to feel like this. Some of these names you're going to know, some of them you're not. Sweet, Cheap Trick, The Plimsolls, The Raspberries, The Records, The Only Ones, Big Star, The Knack. We know Al likes The Knack. He's already done them. The Flamin' Groovies, The Undertones, The Laws, Squeeze, The Paul Collins Beat, The Quick, The 3 O'Clock, Superdrag, Sloan, Dwight Twilley, Split Ends, The Boys. Also, there's an amazing compilation that's on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you have, released by the Numero Group, and it's called Buttons. That is obscure power pop stuff, like bands that nobody has ever heard of in their life. There's Buttons, and then there's Yellow Pills is another one. 2 compilations that are just like, in my opinion, if you like this song a lot, and if you're like, this song is the catchiest thing I've ever heard, what is Matt Kelly talking about? Just take the rest of your year and listen to all of that stuff I just mentioned.
Every single one of those. And also subscribe to the One Hit Thunder podcast, where I think we've covered at least 4 of the artists that you've named.
There you go. See? There you go. That's what's up. That's what's up. Great
right,
crossover.
Well, we will be back next week with the last parody on Off the Deep End.
Oof. Weird one.
Until then.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.